The 3.37-mile ribbon of asphalt that is Watkins Glen International has hosted road racing's best for nearly 3/4 of a century. Today, the drivers of the TC America powered by Skip Barber Racing School Championship will test their mettle in a 40-minute sprint race to the checkered flag. Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. We have Amanda Busick down in the pit lane. Thanks so much for joining us. Beautiful countryside, but it's about to come to life with the roar of race engines as we get set, Calvin, for the next round of TC America.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating race. 3 classes running here this afternoon. And on top of the charts, we have Jacob Rude, who finally got beaten at Road America. 7 wins on the bounce and finally got beaten by Stephen Cugliari, who's not competing here this weekend. But we expect to see Stephen back possibly as early as Sebring. But big battle for second in the points between Steve Strymer and Roy Block. Just a couple of points separate them, so plenty to play for in the top class today.
That class would be the TCX class, but 2 others to keep an eye on as well, which we'll talk about in a moment, TC and TCA. First, though, let's look at this Watkins Glen track layout. 11 turns, nearly 2.5 miles, 3.5 miles rather. Fantastic layout that has evolved somewhat over the years, but presents a remarkable challenge nevertheless.
It does. It is a classic. It is super fast. It is really smooth and extremely high grip. You can roll so much speed through many of these corners. You can see it's broken down into the 3 sectors there. As you start sector 2, it gets a little bit trickier in terms of the twists and turns. You got the inner loop there, which is that first sequence of corners there, which really arrests the speeds of those cars as they come up the back straightaway. Down into the classic boot. So many elevation changes through that particular sector. Some great overtaking opportunities as well. And then just a beautiful rhythm to the final few corners to complete the lap here. As you said, just over 3.25 miles, 11 turns, and everyone is extremely challenging and should be well suited to the 3 classes running here today.
Pole sitters for those 3 classes. Jacob Rude got the job done in qualifying earlier today. He'll start on the overall pole in the classic BMW M2 CS. Pole in TC goes to Eric Powell from the Skip Barber Racing School team, able to fend off his championship rival Kevin Boehm, but it was awfully close. TCA saw Carter Fartuck, also from the Skip Barber Racing School stable, take the class pole over the impressive youngster Jose Blanco in his first season of tin top racing. He's had some success in open wheel racing over the years, but getting more and more comfortable as the season has gone along. Let's go down to the pit lane and meet the 3rd member of the broadcast team. Good afternoon, Amanda.
Well, hey guys, and this grid is just full of stories, and one that I'm chasing down here is Austin Smith. He's never even stepped his foot in the state of New York until this weekend, but he used a lot of time on that simulator to get prepared for this weekend. The guy that's sitting 3rd in points said that he almost was a seamless transition, knew his braking points, knew the curves almost immediately on his practice laps. But there's another thing that Austin is racing for here today. It's his birthday. Wants to see his 4th win on the season. You'll remember he took the checkered, swept Virginia underneath the red flags and got a true win in Road America. So we'll see if the birthday luck will be on Austin Smith's side today.
That we will. He's on a nice run of the last 4 races, 3 wins. The 2 you mentioned at VIR that were affected by some extended yellow flag running. So not full points there, but did get the full points for the win in race 1 at Elkhart Lake. Finished 3rd in the 2nd race at Road America the last time out. Enters this weekend 3rd in points, 24.5 out of the class lead in TC. But there's still plenty to play for. We chatted with him earlier this weekend. He knows that, but he also knows he's going to need to perform to stay in championship contention.
Yeah, and the BMW was very strong there in many of the classes at Road America, certainly well suited to that brand. But here it's the Honda's front row in TC with the championship leader, Eric Powell. You mentioned Austin Smith, 24 points behind the championship leader. Sandwiched in between Powell and Smith is Kevin Boehm, who started off the season so strong, coming off that championship last year in TCA. But in recent rounds, he's really struggled to find the performance level. He puts it down to the summer races and the heat and just dealing with that, how it kind of saps power from the car. So cooler conditions here this weekend. I'll be curious to see if that can be the game changer and suddenly Kevin Boehm finding the pace that we're used to with him.
Yeah, the reigning TCA champion, Kevin Boehm, and part of the learning curve in making the step up to TC, the pole sitter, Eric Powell, getting word from his team that he's quietly optimistic about his chances. You can see that with the pole position run that he put in qualifying, but he had a big win almost against the odds. If you go back to Elkhart Lake, you talked about the BMWs having the strength, and he let them fight amongst themselves, and that was crucial for him to get that big win, and it keeps him in the championship picture for sure.
Yeah, I think that was a big turnaround in terms of the points that you put on the board, but I think mentally, I think he seemed pretty downbeaten about didn't have a car that was capable of winning. Yet he went out and won the next day following the first race at Road America. So that's what determination can get you, and just executing and ticking all of the boxes. So that's maintained that championship lead for him. But on the grid today, we talked about how they're lined up with the guy in second in points, Boehm, on the front row. But the top three only set by 0.3 of a second in qualifying, so expect a fierce fight here this afternoon.
They're very close. They're all right next to each other on the grid. This is the front of the grid, the TCX car, Steve Strymer. He's in a big fight for second in the TCX points. That's one thing to keep an eye on. And as we drop back to TCA, great diversity as ever within that class. Really the last bastion of true tuners, cars that garages have worked to put together. That's not exclusively true. We are starting to see some of the homologated cars that come from the factory, but a nice mix within TCA as well. And with Carter Fartuk on pole, Jose Blanco in second. Two different teams, but Honda's on pole in both. And then Jesse Love, the TRD development driver, he'll start third. He was racing his ARCA West car out in Portland last weekend, now on the other end of the country, continuing his road racing education.
Well, that's certainly quite the transition from that car to this today. But he's doing a nice job opening up the year with a sweep of the opening weekend at Sonoma. So great to see him back. But looking at the championship, I mean, with that sweep of the weekend at Road America, Carter Fartuk is definitely a contender in this championship. He sits only 9.5 points back from Caleb Bacon, and Caleb Bacon lines up 9th on this grid today. So that's a big enough point swing if they maintain those positions to change the championship lead as early as tonight. So a lot of work for Caleb Bacon to do with that Hyundai Veloster Turbo sitting back there on the 5th row of the TCA grid.
It's amazing how the storylines have shifted within TCA. At Road America, Carter was talking to us earlier in the weekend about, I need to win to keep my hopes alive, and he goes out, wins a couple of races on pole here. Championship rival is starting further back. Really, we're talking about him less as a long shot now and very much in the mix.
Yeah, and on the pole by 9/10.
Yes.
That's massive at that level of the field. So, yeah, let's see if it can be another big day for him. If he can win 3 on the bounce and suddenly grab that lead, be lots to fight for with a few rounds remaining in this championship.
Well, clearly a great day of qualifying, at least, for the Skip Barber Racing School team. They are, of course, the title sponsor of TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School, but heavily involved, using this as a chance to promote from within, to bring some drivers that have come through the school into professional racing, whether it's into open wheel or here in TC America. Also a chance to bring along some mechanics, and they're also involved in that Operation Motorsport that is embedding motorsports veterans with race teams throughout the paddock. We talk about it with several other race teams, but they're one of them also, and they've been really excited about that involvement and some of the ways that the veterans embedded within their program have been able to bring real tangible benefits to the race team. It's been cool to see.
Yeah, it works both ways, right? So
Right.
it's an opportunity for the vets to be here, and certainly they bring a lot of expertise to the table as well. So it's a wonderful fit, and really hats off to everyone who initiated that program and to see it in full flow right now.
Field making its way for the first of 2 formation laps. Gives us a chance to take a look at the grid. You see the drivers' names and what car they're driving up on the screen. But as mentioned, Jacob Ruud, who has been dominant all season long, has nearly clinched the TCX championship, has a chance to do exactly that here this weekend if he can build a lead of up over 100 points by the time this weekend is said and done. He's on pole overall and in TCX with Steve Strymer and Roy Block. They're embroiled in that second place battle in the points, starting second and third. And then a newcomer, Joseph Catania from the new Rigid Speed team. They are experienced in club level racing in this part of the country, based up in Syracuse. having a chance here to jump onto the grid for the first time, and we might be seeing more of them with additional cars potentially as the year plays out. Then it gets to the TC field with Eric Powell on the TC class pole, second in points, second on the road. Kevin Boehm will start alongside the points leader Eric Powell. Then it's Austin Smith, the birthday boy, and Rob Hines from Tech Sport Racing will start fourth. Derek Jones in the TC Spec Mini, he will start in fifth in class, ninth overall. Tom Capizzi alongside there, starting in 10th and 6th in class. Rounding out the TC field, Mike Lamara and Jeff Rika. Then Kurt Washeim and Ken Fukuda making his debut. Chris Valdez and Matthew Ibrahim starting 11th and 12th. The DRS and Garagistic teammates rounding out the TC field. Then into TCA we go with Carter Fartuk on pole. Jose Blanco will start second, then Jesse Love and Sally McNulty, who really impressed at Road America with some strong runs. That Team Sally Racing operation getting some help from VGMC here this year. She starts in fourth. Luke Rumberg from Forbush Performance starts fifth with PJ Gronke out of Tech Sport Racing alongside. Then to the Skip Barber Racing School entry of Mike Stillwagon. Clayton Williams in a Mini will start eighth. Caleb Bacon, the TCA points leader, all the way back in ninth with Mario Biundo starting in 10th. And Colin Harrison at the back of the field, at least in qualifying, the 27th of the 27 cars set to do battle here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and you talk about Sally McNulty there sitting fourth in TCA. He's only 3/10 off the front row, so coming off a very strong Road America weekend, she's really gaining a lot of momentum here at the heart of the season.
Had a fourth place finish, a season best for Sally in race 2 at Elkhart Lake, and getting some assistance, as we mentioned there, from the VGMC. Victor Gonzalez, his operation, they brought her under their tent. They've been helping with some setup and some logistics and also getting some coaching. Carl Whitmer, who is involved with Victor's team in a different touring car championship, has been there offering some coaching to not just Sally, but also VGMC's full season entry, which is Jose Blanco. And we've seen Jose's run of form improving as the season goes along too.
Yes, it just spreads throughout the camp. So hats off to Victor in terms of putting that program together. And I just love this stage of the year. We talk about, you know, teams evolving and kind of all coming together. And now we're, you know, into the 5th weekend of the championship season. People who had intention are now showing it and going to finish off the season strong. So I think there's a lot of confidence. With the races coming more rapidly rather than the big breaks, I think that really helps that cause as well.
That's a look at Hard Motorsport and Steve Strymer driving that car, both team and driver from the Pacific Northwest, making the trek to upstate New York to race here at Watkins Glen.
3 podiums on the year, so we'd love to beat Jacob Rude. Someone else had to do it at Road America, so he can be beaten, but in qualifying this morning, a healthy 0.8 of a second margin. So let's say Stephen get a jump here at the start and put some pressure on him. There's Roy Block in the black BMW. He sits second in points, albeit by a small margin over Steve. So those two guys will have their eyes on each other, trying to figure out who's going to. It looks like Jacob has the championship wrapped up, as you said. If he comes out of this weekend with 100 points plus, he'd definitely have the tiebreaker on wins. So if he sweeps the weekend, there's nothing anyone else could do about it. That would be enough of a margin.
Now, the caveat to Strymer's season is he actually ran the first weekend of the year in the TC class out at Sonoma before making the switch at Circuit of the Americas to TCX. So he effectively didn't score points towards this championship, and yet has a very good chance of snagging second in points with a good run here today. Has finished on the podium in each of the last 5 races in TCX. Looking to add to that, or perhaps do one better, seeking that first win of the season.
I think this TC battle could be really good too. I mean, Kevin Boehm realizes he's got to get back in the big points. I mean, it's so unusual to see him finishing off the podium, and he's done that on a few occasions recently. So can he find his stride here in a racetrack and month or conditions? Certainly they're a little bit cooler than we've seen in the last couple of race weekends.
3 different classes, TCX, TC, and TCA. Each will get their own run to the green flag. We'll watch the start in TCX first, where the overall pole sitter, Jacob Ruud, will lead the field to green. His classic BMW entry to the right of the screen. He'll have Steve Strymer alongside. Then the second row, Roy Block, and the newcomer, Joe Catania, for rigid speed. Locals with some local track knowledge trying to put that to good use. Waiting for the green flag here along the pit straightaway, and it flies. Great start from Ruud. Problems for Roy Block as he drops way back at the initial start. Does look like he's now up to speed. We'll see if Strymer can challenge Ruud into turn 1. He cannot. Jacob Ruud able to get away and build a nice gap.
Yeah, real problems there for Block. Almost like he's in the wrong gear or something that was amiss as we now look at the TC start here.
Pole sitter is Eric Powell. He's able to get a nice jump there, but Kevin Bohm isn't going anywhere. Stays alongside just on the flank. A couple of Honda Civics racing into turn 1. They get it sorted out nice and early. Same can't be said further back as Rob Hines going wheel to wheel with Jones in the Mini.
Yeah, 3 wide there trying to get through turn 1. They just survived.
Carter Fartuck takes the green flag in the flying start here for the TCA field. 3
Look at
wide.
Rumberg.
Yeah, Rumberg looking to make up some ground here early on after the poor qualifying result, and he does grab a couple of spots.
Yeah, big move there, and Caleb Bacon has an awesome start as well from 9th on the grid.
Yeah, exactly right. Got my four-bush cars confused. Oh, contact there. Rob Hines in a spin, able to woe it down and stay off the wall. But everyone is stacking up after that contact in the front of this field. There,
but big stack up there as we come through the inner loop for the very first time.
I'll see how that shakes out, but that's where that extra paved runoff, it wasn't always there outside of the inner loop, but it gave Hines the chance to get those brakes locked down and keep the car off the wall. It looks like Ricca might have some problems. He's dropping back quickly.
Yeah, he really is. Top 3 in the championship, the top 3 in the race right now, and they've stretched a big lead for the rest of the pack here early on this opening lap.
And maybe the issue for Ricca caught Rob out. That led to the contact there. Luckily, Rob able to keep it off the wall. Let's take a look at a replay. What do you make of this?
There we see that just side by side there, and they hit each other pretty hard, actually. And as you said, I'm not sure if that's cut down the left front, possibly on Rob Hines' car, and Ricca's car has obviously taken a big hit there and may have switched something off. He certainly doesn't seem to have full power.
First lap complete. Jacob Ruud has built a lead of nearly 1 second over Steve Strymer. Back to the TCA fight we go. That's Clay Williams in the yellow Mini doing battle with a couple of Civics. And right
there.
Yes.
In this little pack here. This is up, coming out of the boot. This is turn 9. Heading into these really fast sweepers right now, and Sally's got a car on each flank as the Mini goes around the outside. So that's a nice move there by Clayton Williams, who's made a ton of passes here on this opening lap.
Yeah, started way back in the field, 8th in class, and has jumped at least 2 spots, it looks like, on the opening lap of this race as it all shakes out. In TC, it's Powell leading Bohm, leading Smith, 1, 2, 3 in the championship. That's how they run on the racetrack. Then in TCA, Carter Fartuck from Jose Blanco and Luke Rumberg, but Caleb Bacon, the big mover on the opening lap. That's crucial for his championship hopes. He's up to 4th.
Yeah, look at Kevin Bohm here, arms and elbows coming through the inner loop, and this has really given a huge gap to Eric Powell, our championship leader. He's literally taken off. It's like he's in a different zip code right now, as Austin Smith is really putting the pressure on Kevin Bohm for 2nd position.
Birthday boy Austin Smith. He's had a nice run as of late. Just starting to get more and more comfortable with his BMW M240. And right now, he's giving the reigning TCA champion all he can handle.
Look at that Civic there, hitching it inside wheel. Front wheel drive car, of course, coming through that corner. He hit that rear wheel as it loads through the corner, just up in the air.
Did you ever race a front wheel drive car?
I didn't race one, but I drove a lot. I used to run the Mid-Ohio School, which was supported by Honda and Acura over the years, so we raced a lot of school cars. It's a different sensation, but ultimately you drive them very much the same. It's when you have a problem, it's like with the front-wheel drive, you kind of plant the foot on the right, on the pedal there to try and straighten it out if it starts to get sideways on you, but it's subtle differences with a front-wheel drive car for sure.
Kevin Bohm, for now, able to withstand that pressure, but it has allowed Eric Powell to jump away to a fairly healthy lead. This is second and third in TC right here. Just a moment ago, the birthday boy Austin Smith looked poised to try and make a move, but Kevin Bohms put a bit of distance in between himself and his closest pursuer. But up front, yeah, Powell now building a lead of up over 3 seconds already, just 2 laps in.
Yeah, Jones has had a brilliant start here, so running in 4th position. It's an experimental program, really, with that many running up in the TC class, so they don't have a ton of miles on it. And certainly impressive to see it running this high up the field this early in the program.
It had a setback at VIR, a very heavy crash that prompted them to build a brand new race car as a consequence, and they had their issues. Oh, problems there. Is that Smith?
It is.
Wow, missed the inner loop and made a heavy impact with the tire barrier.
Inner fender on the right side is going to be a big issue. Looks like it's pushed back the fender, and let's see what happens here. See Bohm turn in and just go straight. It's like the car is not slowing down. So I'm not sure if he had a braking issue, like a technical issue, but now he's got major impact to the front end of that car. See the right side has got a lot of damage. That's going to be probably pushing down on that right side tire. See a lot of smoke though, remarkably. He took a massive hit there and continues to roll.
Shows the strength of these cars, but it remains to be seen just what the extent of the damage might be underneath the front fascia. Kurt Waschheim in the Hyundai leading this field right here. 5th, 6th, and 7th. Tom Capizzi running in 2nd.
So Jones has gotten around Smith with that incident for Smith. So Jones in the 60 machine now up to 3rd. You see him disappearing down the road.
Yeah. And here we have another battle. That's Sally McNulty and Jesse Love going at it here. Jesse Love in the Toyota, as mentioned, Toyota Racing Development driver. Got his eyes on a stock car career, but Toyota seeing the value in getting some road racing experience.
Sally's racing this afternoon.
Yes, indeed.
That great qualifying performance, we said, just a few tenths off the front row in TCA, but been in some fierce battles early, less than 10 minutes on the board.
Jesse Love right now holding down that spot, trying to keep Sally behind. 16-year-old from Menlo Park, California, last year's ARCA West champion. Has a lot of dirt track experience as well as we go back to the front of the field. And Jacob Rude, who has built the gap now to 4.5 seconds over Steve Strymer. Roy Block runs 3rd. Good recovery from him after the issues at the initial start. And it's dropped Catania in his debut down to 4th in that class.
Well, Jacob has certainly made the statement. I mean, the one blemish, if you want to put it that way, finishing 2nd at Road America in a great race with Cugliari is the only time he's been beaten and even looked like he was in trouble. Here we see Austin Smith in trouble once again.
It's into the same corner.
Yeah, he might have taken a little brush here.
Like maybe just too much curb.
I think the right
Oh,
is
there
down.
it is.
Yeah.
Yep. Good eye, Calvin. No question about that. Yikes. And there he goes, effectively behind the wall.
Well, that's a problem. So you got to get 70% on these races to get points. So this is devastating in terms of the championship.
And came into this race 3rd and very much in the mix. This is not the birthday he was hoping for. The good news is he's going to get a chance to go at it again tomorrow, assuming that car can be repaired. Not a big hit for his championship aspirations. We're going to drop back here.
Valdez and Ibrahim having a nice little battle here, just inside the top 10.
Chris Valdez, team owner, basically running this operation. Matthew Ibrahim made his debut back at VIR. Started this garagistic company that is part of the team, basically to help pay through college, as he was machining aftermarket parts, and it's proven incredibly successful. He's been involved in various racing-related activities, but this is the first chance to go racing in a serious manner, and has shown some pace at different times. And you gotta love the paint schemes on these cars. They stand out. And
they do look fantastic.
It shows just how much fun. I think it exemplifies the personality of both Chris and Matthew. They're both a lot of fun to chat with.
It's a good shot of the carousel as you dip down after the inner loop, coming down into the laces of the boot as we look at our TC leader, Eric Powell. Now 3.5 seconds to the good over Kevin Bowman, effectively an identical Honda Civic here. Obviously the setups are probably a little bit different in terms of what the driver's like, but Powell's not just scampering away here. I mean, he established this sort of lead very early, and now Kevin has stabilized that, so I'm not sure how much of this is Eric just managing the gap or whether Kevin seems to have an equally fast car here today.
Championship leader by 21.5 points coming in. If you're wondering about the half points, that again goes back to VIR, that due to all the yellow flags we saw there and the lack of green flag running, only half points were awarded, so it makes for some strange statistics in the points table. But Powell, an experienced guy, ran a lot of years for Tech Sport, finished third in the TCA championship for that team back in 2016 in an MX-5 Cup car, but got this chance with the Skip Barber Racing School team and has grabbed it with both hands, taking every advantage that he's given. He's not finished worse than 4th all year. Other than 2 times in 4th, he's been on the podium, and that's a big reason why he's the championship leader at this stage.
And just immense talent. You know, he's one of those drivers who may have slipped through the racing net a little bit now at his age. I mean, but, you know, you stick him in any car that's got a little bit of pace, and he's going to get it towards the sharp end. And with that Skip Barber Racing team, I mean, they've really got a great combination there as we look at the other end of that spectrum with their TCR division as well. Carter Fartuk, as we mentioned, going for 3 wins in a row. And Caleb Bacon has bounced back nicely from that poor qualifying run to at least get that car up in the top 5, running in the 4th position. Here's his teammate we're looking at right there, Luke Grumberg, who's having a nice run. He's had a win this year.
He has, and he was able to pass Jose Blanco to take that 2nd spot. Blanco has dropped back to 3rd, so looks like there might be a problem in the TC field for Mike Lamara. We're seeing him listed as in the pits and dropping down the order. Not sure exactly what the cause of that might be, but tough break there for Mike. Well, I think that answers that question.
Yeah, damage there on the front end.
LA Honda World, the team operating this car. They also run the Mini team out of their shop in Brownsburg, Indiana. Kurt Washeim here on the defensive in the Gin Racer Hyundai. He's currently a little bit down. Where is he running? In 5th as it stands, and he's got the newcomer Fukuda right behind him, looking strong here in the Skip Barber School car.
He really is. Tucked it in nicely there. Car's working well. Great to see so much diversity with the manufacturers in TCA as well this year.
As far as I can tell, Ken Fukuda, who's driving this car, this is his season debut in TC America. I believe he might have made a couple starts in the VLN Championship, now known as NLS, back in 2018 in a BMW. That's of course at the Nürburgring, but that's all I could find on his CV as far as professional racing is concerned. But looking right at home, he's made nice progress through the field so far in this race. PJ Gronke leading in this little scrap. He's got 77 just behind Mario Biundo, who started in 10th in class.
Yeah, there's battles everywhere, right? It doesn't matter if you're battling out for a podium spot or deep inside the top 10, just great racing. Nice move there by Biundo, getting down to the inside. This is turn 8, and you climb the hill. This is where the elevation change really kicks in. You just crest the hill and you got to get it turned in, hit your marks. And this is where it's beautiful flow and rhythm. I love this next couple of corners, turn 10 and 11. Should be wide open through this corner in.
Jeff Rika making his way back through the field, had his issues as we saw in the inner loop, that contact with Rob Hines. And he's now making his way through the TCA field, going past PJ Gronke, who just lost that spot to Biundo. Here's the spin, that's Steve Strymer, yes.
Second place on the road, third place in the points, and I wonder if that's allowed Roy Block through.
I think it
Just
must
taking a look.
have. He wasn't that far behind. In fact, you could see him in the
Yeah.
shot there. So there goes Roy through, and Roy had run him down. So maybe Steve feeling a bit of that pressure there.
Yeah, probably still on the brakes at that point. Just lost the tail of the car. Quick slide. Don't think he damaged anything, even though he got up and over the curb.
I think in the background we saw the TC Mini. Jones had that car stopped. That's basically in the part of the track we're not using this weekend. If you're running the short course and omitting the boot, then you take the outer loop and basically go straight into what is turn 9 in this layout. And he had that car parked there, which is a shame. As mentioned, that car basically had to be built again from the ground up after the heavy crash at VIR for the initial chassis, and that's still very much in the early phases of development. And it's shown good pace from time to time. But as usual, some teething with the brand new race car. We saw some of that at Road America in race 1, but race 2 was a different story where that car showed some good pace.
Yeah, it's a shame to see that having issues pretty early going here in this race. Hopefully they can get it sorted out and come back tomorrow. A bit of smoke there emanating out of the 22 car of Jesse Love, as he seems to be falling back right now, and obviously some kind of power issue.
Oh, that's frustrating for Jesse. And the Tech Sport Racing team switching to Toyota badging this year. A lot of similarities with the Subaru that they've been running in the last several years. It's not a good sign. The telltale smoke out the exhaust pipe, and boy, it just got a lot more serious, didn't it?
Yeah, they probably need to get him into pit lane and give that a check over. It's not going to last long, pouring that much smoke out of the back.
Tough break for Jesse, who finished 4th in his ARCA West race last weekend in Portland. He's accompanying IndyCar out there. Saw him at a distance, didn't have a chance to catch up with him and see what he made of this interesting schedule he's putting together, split between TC America and ARCA West. Looks like he's going to stay on the track for now, though, Calvin.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the wisest move, but maybe he knows something we don't. But certainly it's not good sign right now, but hopefully some of this racing that he's done aided that great performance that he did have in Portland last weekend. So just learning the tools of the trade in terms of road racing. It's great to see Toyota supporting these young drivers.
And to do it in the lowest class, if you will, of TC America, certainly the lowest horsepower class, puts you in a momentum style car. You don't have horsepower to fall back on to drag you out of a mistake, and the thing you hear consistently is that the lessons you can learn in a momentum car, a low horsepower car, carry over no matter what you drive the rest of your career.
Well, it's all about the details and the little margins and, as you say, flowing the car, not killing the speed when you don't have much to work with in the first place. So hopefully some of those little secrets that he learned, he's able to use with a much higher horsepower car last weekend.
Getting word from the pits, Rob Hines was in the pit lane after that contact earlier, and the initial report was that they might be done for the day, but he's just hopped back in the car, which is great to hear, and headed back out trying to salvage a bit of something on a day in which we have seen attrition across the various classes start to become a storyline. So thanks to Amanda for that update. Here's Roy Block running 2nd in TCX and overall, and what to my eye has been his most complete run of the season so far. There's Jesse Love continuing off the pace, just trying to limp that car back home.
Yeah, Roy's had a big couple of months, though. Scored Alpha's first TCR victory in North America at Road America just a few weeks ago in a different championship. So that will certainly give him a little boost in the arm in terms of confidence levels. So we've been working hard with that over the years in trying to get that car to victory lane. So I'm sure some of that confidence spills over into this program as well.
38 car, new team and driver to the championship, and Amanda has more.
And that is Joe Catania. He's actually an anesthesiologist out of Syracuse. He did race in the World Challenge back in 2013-14, so I imagine you guys might be familiar with the name. But they're out here. It's a home track for them, being from Syracuse. The goal is to track down a second car and field a 2-team effort next year, and that one will be filled by his son, Lucas Catania, who's on headset with his dad here this weekend.
Yeah, 4 starts in GTS, which is what is now effectively Pirelli GT4 America, back in 2013 for Joseph. Those starts came at COTA and Mid-Ohio, driving a Porsche Cayman for SRO Motorsport. then did a season of MX5 Cup, finished 11th in that championship in 2014. Switched over to Porsche single make racing, where he was 3rd in the gold class points in Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge USA back in 2015, stepped up to the platinum class in 2016, but it's been a bit quiet as far as professional racing goes since then. But great to have him and great to hear that ambition, and it sounds like if you want one of these BMWs, it's hard to find one. The M2 has effectively sold out in North America. We only have 4 racing right now because there's not a lot in race teams' hands, and that's led to those that want to go racing desperately searching, trying to find a chassis that they can press into service.
Yeah, people are paying way over the list to get their hands on one of those right now, so be good to see more of them out on the racetrack, where I think they were originally designed to be.
It's a neat car. It was debuted over in Europe a couple of years back. They ran a Cup series that supported DTM back a couple of years ago. In fact, last year I think that was the plan, and did some running at the Nürburgring and things like that. And this is kind of BMW's look to the future as we get deeper into the lifespan of the TC spec car, the M240. This TCX spec machine, the M2 CS, has been well received by all that have driven it, and the grids in general have been growing as the year went along. Bit of a step back, frankly, this weekend from Elkhart Lake, but a number of the teams we've seen at various points in the season we should see coming back at Sebring and for the finale at Indianapolis, which has us excited for the future.
Yeah, and I think the TC class has really created a nice stepping stone out of TC. Where did the competitors go who have been there for a long time, have achieved success? So hopefully with a bigger supply of those cars, and you know, originally that class was designed to see some TCR cars in there as well, but that hasn't quite evolved this year. But so still in development phase, and everyone's working hard to get more cars in this grid, but super high-powered little cars, and very fun to watch.
Sally McNulty has dropped back somewhat since her great qualifying effort at the start of this race. She now runs 7th behind Mike Stillwagon, and as you can see,
bit of damage there.
Yes, the right front of that car.
Well, she's been in some close little battles so far today. She's in another one right now. Just great to see her moving up the grid. I mean, she was a fierce competitor, and I think with Victor Gonzalez and his VGMC team helping her a little bit, it's really showing now in the results that she can focus as much on the driving aspect as she was just getting the car prepared and fielded.
In her day-to-day life, Sally is a service advisor at an Audi dealership. Went through the Skip Barber School, actually, to get licensed in order to run in TC America. So kind of an interesting twist to the storyline here. She's chasing down a Skip Barber School car, and Mike Stillwagon, who drives it, very much involved in the coaching at the Skip Barber School. This is Roy Block coming through, not for position, but whew.
I'm sure Sally knew he was there.
No, and Roy did the right thing there, running 2nd in class, but well out of the fight for the lead. Just made sure he kept the fenders pointed straight on that car and backed out of it.
Sally was so focused on Stillwagon in the 20 machine up in front of her that she really wasn't looking behind at that phase of the game.
Block able to get it done on the straightaway, now knifing to the inside of Stillwagon. That temporarily left the door open for Sally, but I don't think it stayed open long enough. Jump back to TC. Kurt Waschheim in the black, primarily black Hyundai Gen Racer team. We saw Jeff Rika in the wars earlier. This is the sister car. And he's got Kim Fukuda, the debutante, right behind. Back to Sally and Mike we go.
Looks like she has a little bit more pace. The car looks a little bit racier, doesn't it? It looks like she's got some straightaway speed advantage that she's trying to make stick, and Mike's just got his head down and just focused on staying in the groove, but she just seems to be able to come back rapidly. She'll fall back 3 or 4 car lengths, and seems like within 3 or 4 corners, she's right back on the tail of Stillwagon.
The last couple of years, if you've watched any SRO America racing, you've probably seen Mike in action. You just didn't know it. He drove the pace car quite frequently over the course of the last season. That's part of Skip Barber's partnership with SRO America, providing pace car drivers and also some instruction to some of the drivers within the field, especially here in TC America, where they've come on board as the title sponsor. And it's a multifaceted program for Skip Barber. Awesome to have them as part of the program. Certainly one of the most revered brands in motorsports in North America. And think about all the great drivers they've produced over the years. Those that have at one time or another either raced in some of their series or gone through the school. It's a who's who in a lot of respects, especially over the last 30 years or so.
Yeah, very much so. It's fun to watch one of their graduates, AJ Allmendinger, have a big night last night in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, that was a wild finish for sure.
That was crazy.
Update from Amanda. What do you have for us?
Well, you talk about school. Let's go back to Jacob Ruud, actually. Look at back at Road America. It was a home race for him, but this one might be a semi-home race as well. Jacob is in school at the Rochester Institute of Technology, which is roughly 85 miles from this track. He's getting his master's studying cybersecurity. I asked him if he had met a man named George Kurtz yet, and he said he was going to end up leveraging his racing connections and trying to go through Live Askew to George Kurtz. But as we know, George in cyber and CrowdStrike, a big player in the cybersecurity market. But I just love seeing that between these young kids out here. And, you know, they as being racing drivers, they all are so humans. And this one, in case, is a student at a college not too far away from here.
Neat to see that crossover there for sure. And it makes for basically a second consecutive home race for Jacob. He's from Racine, Wisconsin, so we had a lot of friends and family out for the Road America race. And so that was kind of the home track. And to a degree, I guess that's the case once again here, going to school just down the road.
Yeah, and right now he's making it happen. He's impressing his friends who may be here on site. He's got the lead by 17 seconds, but I tell you what, looking at fastest laps of the day, Roy Block is not that far away, and the fast laps today set the grid for tomorrow. So Ruud has it right now at 2:03 flat, Block at a 2:03.2, Strymer's in the 3 bracket as well. So Jacob Ruud's just executing. He's monotonous with these lap times in terms of just stretching. And he doesn't rest on his laurels, does he? He's not afraid to build the gap and put it to him.
And Roy started the season with a couple of podiums as this fight continues. Fukuda trying to find his way around Washeim, trying to go the long way around here in the laces of the boot. But as going back to Roy Block, second and third in the first 2 races of the year at Sonoma, but he's not been on the podium since. The streak could very well end today. He's done a lot of touring car racing over the last couple of years across multiple championships. I think he's doing some racing down in South America this year. If that ultimately panned out, I think that was the plan, at least, when I spoke to him back at Sonoma about what he was intending to do this year. So a lot of seat time in a couple of series in North America, and maybe some back in his native South America. He's from Corrientes, Argentina, Roy Block.
This is one of those battles. We've seen several of these today with the various classes that have already seen checkered flags this afternoon in battles that just seem to go on forever. And it's a racetrack that does create overtaking opportunities, but equally, if you are defending, it gives you a choice of different lines to try and still get through the sector a little bit quicker than the guys chasing you.
This has been impressive from both of these two. They're both a little bit short on experience. Kurt Washeim has done some touring car racing within TC America in the past, 2019 and 2020. Made some starts in these various cars and classes, but for Washeim this year, it's been a partial season. He's not finished higher than 11th in a race yet, and that looks like that could very well be obliterated with the way he's running in this race, currently up in the 4th place in TC, so just off the podium. And then Fukuda, as mentioned, making his series debut, running in 5th. It's been a good scrap to keep an eye on throughout the course of this race. TCA,
change of position right here.
Is still leading, but yeah, just behind him. What are we seeing?
Well, Rumberg still holds down the second spot, but I believe Bacon has just gotten around Blanco for the third position. That's important in terms of keeping that championship tight. Coming into this round with a 9.5 point lead over Fartuk, who leads right now. So if Fartuk was to win and Bacon finishes third, that'd be a 10-point swing. That'd be a half-point delta in the championship.
Back to Fukuda and Waschheim here. Ooh, dear.
Oh, no, that's not going to work, unfortunately.
See if they manage to keep it off the wall. Looks like yes. That's very good news, and they are able to race on. That could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah, that was a shame because there's plenty of room there to work with, and just didn't give each other enough room there.
10 minutes remaining. First of 2 races this weekend for TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School. 4th and 5th, very much up for grabs here between these two. Oh, that's a problem for one of the Garagistic cars. I think we already saw one of them come to the pit lane, and that is Chris Valdez here. He's apparently off the pace.
There's the damage from Austin Smith coming through the inner loop here earlier in the race.
And Sally McNulty continuing to fight here with Mike Stillwagon.
She will not go away.
No.
And Mike is just like hitting his marks, doing everything, trying to perfect the lap. And Sally's just all over him, makes a little mistake or overcommits to a corner, drops back, and then right back with him.
Her background is in time attack, so it's all about putting together that one fast lap, and she's been a quick study with her racecraft over the last couple of seasons. And then big shout out again to Victor Gonzalez and VGMC, taking her under their wing. Victor telling me this weekend we saw Sally rolling up, just her and her open trailer, and he said, you know, we've been there. Because if you go back to how VGMC started, it was just Victor and his buddy Mariano Cruz, and they made the drive for their first weekend. Oh, we got mixed class racing going on there. But they were out in Sonoma, just same deal. 2 guys, a car, and a trailer, and kind of punched above their weight. And so they saw a kindred spirit in Sally. They've taken her under their wing, and it's paid some big dividends.
It has. It's nice to see that family atmosphere within our paddock, and certainly at this level when you're just trying to survive, literally, and just giving Sally a big lift in terms of her performance, and probably taking some of the stresses off in terms of just getting the car out on the racetrack and towing it to the circuit and being pretty much a 1- or 2-man band there. That will certainly help her cause all the way through this championship.
So these two came together last lap. They were able to recover, and they have not skipped a beat, going right back to their fight for 4th in TC. Steve Strymer is recovering from a spin. Looked like he was getting closer to Catania. That might be something to keep an eye on, but while we do so, let's check in with Amanda.
Well, I was standing here when Caleb Bacon was able to make that overtake on Jose Blanco, and that's exactly what his team said, that Caleb was talking through with them on that, but just wanted to keep his head down and really focused on the road ahead, as we've been talking about with this points battle. After this race, only 5 races remain on this season. He comes off of that podium finish in race 1, but then had that almost probably unfortunate finish in race 2 in Road America. So if he can podium here, I imagine that's a good finish that the young Forbush Racing driver is looking for.
Comes from a racing family. His grandfather Al, a 24 Hours of Daytona class winner, Mazda RX-7. Caleb got his start in Spec Miata racing, as so many drivers do. Transitioning into the pro ranks here within the last couple of seasons, made his TCA debut last year, finished 6th in the championship, racked up a podium and a couple of fastest laps, but has really turned it on this year. 3 race wins in a row in the middle part of the season so far. Didn't have the best of weekends at Road America, a 2nd and an 8th. But looking to bounce back in a big way after struggling in qualifying this morning.
Yeah, and you talk about that racing family. Well, they got Caleb in a car at 4 years old, so they started early. Even though he's young, he's had a ton of experience already.
This stuff, these two have been in a constant duel, it seems like, from the start of this race. Waschheim doing everything he needs to do so far to keep Fukuda behind him, and despite the contact, it looks like everything able to continue on without any residual damage from that contact. That's very good news for those two. This is third in TCX. Catania has been caught now by Steve Strymer. Catania making his series debut. See if he can keep the veteran Strymer behind him.
And you see his line there, Catania through the inner loop. He's really hitting that third part of it, the third apex there, pretty hard. You shouldn't even be close to that in terms of, if you roll a bit more speed, you're kind of just trimming that one, not bouncing over the top of it and unsettling the car as much. So if Steve makes a move here, maybe Catania can learn a little bit here on these closing laps.
Steve is trying to chase Roy Block for second in the championship. Jacob Ruud has a stranglehold on the points lead in TCX. So if he can gain another position, that would at least help to mitigate the damage. Strymer only ran a couple of races last year, ran 2 at VIR, and that was it. That's 1 year removed from finishing 6th in the TC Championship in 2019. He was 5th in 2018. He's done some club level racing at a fairly high level.
When he's on, though, I mean, he can dominate. I mean, he can be really quick when he gets to a circuit and the car's dialed in. So loves his racing. He and his wife travel together and really enjoy the whole racing scene. So fun to watch him enjoy it.
All got started with a track day back in 2007, although the history of motorsports goes a little further back with motocross back in his youth. That also is a common thread. There's a lot of these drivers that did some off-road or motocross motorcycle racing at one time or another, and it's amazing how much it seems like that does translate from the bike to the car. Strymer still stalking Catania.
Oh, here we go.
This is the overall
right flat
leader.
down, right flat down.
3 minutes, 50 seconds from the finish.
Block is 25 seconds back, but there's enough time on the board. Let's take a look at it. There you see it's already cut down on him. Lucky he didn't loop it right there. A nice save. I was going to say he's going to load that right rear corner up here in a moment, and he felt it and was ready for it.
Not a great place to have that happen. Pretty high speed corner with walls waiting for you.
So suddenly, Strymer's patience in getting by Catania, his team will be saying, go, go, go. If you can get by him, maybe you can catch Block, and that could be for the win.
What a result that would be for Roy if he was able to hold on. The difference between Block and Catania right now is just 4.3 seconds.
Right.
Then you got Strymer there. Only 3 minutes to go. Not much time left. And, oh, boy, here comes Roy Block. He sees Jacob having these problems up the road. He's going to have to navigate that without losing too much time.
Yeah, he can't afford to lose too much. As you said, Catania and Strymer are not that far behind. He can see them in the rearview mirror. There they are. And no, he's being super patient there and waiting for Ruud to get out of the way.
And here comes the fight that will become the battle for second. Catania has it. Strymer now senses his chance. He comes through past the stricken car of Ruud, which is pit lane bound, with a puncture to the right rear. The lead now overall goes to Roy Block with 2 minutes and 17 seconds left. That means 2 laps to go.
Yeah, that's critical.
Yep.
That is critical for these chasers right now. Catania's doing a great job. It's like he's come alive since Strymer's gotten his tail here. Doing an amazing job, Joe Catania here, and he will know right now, his crew will be telling him that is the leader right in front of you. He'll know that anyway. Relatively small field. You know all the competitors. Runs a little bit wide there, getting up through the S's. On that previous lap, Roy Block's fast lap was a 2:07.1. These chasers are 2:04.5.
The rigid speed team from Syracuse, New York, and the debut driver, Steve Catania, going defensive here. Here comes Strymer around the outside of Joe Catania. Can't make the pass, though. And this is great news for Roy Block. It gives him a bit of a respite. The door opened barely.
Yeah, Catania really uses a lot of that curb, and it really unsettles the car. He's got to stay off that a little bit more and have a smoother run through the inner loop. He won't be catching the car coming out. He'll be actually get back to power a little bit sooner. I just love the way that he suddenly got his elbows out and he's just not giving up the position. There's a lot of fight in Catania right now.
He'll guard the inside. forcing Strymer to go the long way through the toe of the boot. Strymer able to tuck back in line. Now trying to swing to the outside. Does he get enough on corner exit? Once again, Catania going defensive. This is in the run to the heel. Turn 8 for the second to last time. Catania holding off Steve Strymer for second in TCX, while Roy Block continues to lead just under 2 seconds up the road.
Whilst these two fight, they're probably compromising their lap time a little bit, and this is exactly what Roy Block needs, because he doesn't have a massive lead, as we can see, but he might have enough.
Catania and Strymer continuing to fight it out. They're coming to take the white flag this time by through turn 11. They'll see the white flag waiting for them down the front straightaway at Watkins Glen. 1 lap to go. And everything up for grabs. Roy Block's lead now over Catania, 2.4 seconds. Catania and Strymer, that's how close they are. That's the fight for second.
Yeah, but they've slowed themselves down. They're losing about a second a lap to what they were doing previously by getting in this little battle. And that has allowed Roy Block to extend that gap a little bit.
Catania wide, though, in turn 2 at the beginning of the S's. Can Steve Strymer take advantage? 2 identical cars. And, oh, Roy Block is off the pace.
He's in trouble. He's slowing.
It now becomes the battle for the lead. Catania sweeps by Roy Block. Strymer now to the outside. Is Catania in strife?
Everyone's slowing dramatically here. This is very bizarre.
Strymer goes through. Catania goes off track. Block continuing to limp on. All of a sudden from 4th, after the spin earlier in the race, it's Steve Strymer that finds himself out in front in TCX. What a wild race here at TC America.
That is crazy. So we had Rude have that cut down tire, and then suddenly as it get really close here on the last lap, initially Block loses power as some kind of issue, and at exactly the same time, Catania comes down with it, and Strymer blasts through and grabs the lead.
5 consecutive podium finishes, but no wins yet for Steve Strymer in this TCX season. 6th in TC points in 2019, 5th in 2018. And Steve Strymer has the lead after late drama afflicting all 3 of his TCX class rivals.
That was wild. It's like, am I not seeing a full course yellow or something? Everyone was just suddenly off the pace there at the same time.
Just a few corners left to go. Steve Strymer from Portland, Oregon, making the trek all the way to the East Coast. One last pass through turn number 11, and the checkered flag awaits. Steve Strymer picks up his first win of the season here at Watkins Glen.
Well, congratulations. Had that quick spin, but knuckled down, gave chase, and it kind of fell in his lap a little bit, but nonetheless a great performance.
And that's why you never give up the fight. You just don't know. What a wild and wacky final lap it was. Eric Powell flashes the headlights. He's greeted by the Skip Barber Racing School team. He holds off Kevin Bohm to get the win in TC. Great finish for him, and it's also second overall. So Powell and Bohm will stand on the overall podium after the issues in the TCX class. Congratulations to them. Waschheim did hold off Fukuda ultimately in the fight for 4th and 5th, or is that done yet? They still need to cross the start-finish line. So don't quite put a bow on that fight. It's been so good all race long. That is Strymer, the man of the hour. Let's look at it again. Is there a chance that we went a lap more than anticipated?
Well, it was close, right? But even so, I mean, they're a lap and a half shy at this point.
Right, so if it was a fuel issue, it was a big fuel issue. Whatever the case may be, you could see the emotion inside the cockpit there for Strymer, who picks up his first win of the year. Waschheim indeed did hold off Fukuda by 0.2 of a second. Carter Fartuk, the winner in TCA, ahead of Luke Rumberg and Caleb Bacon. All things considered, 3rd place. Yeah, you hate to see your championship rival win, but as far back as he started, to get up to the podium, that's a remarkable run.
Crazy to think that it may be a half-point separation between the championship leaders in TCA tonight.
Yeah, you're right about that. These two put on a great fight today, didn't they? Mike Stillwagon, Sally McNulty. Imagine they're going to be swapping some war stories when this thing's all said and done. That's
that was cool
6th
to
and
watch.
7th.
Really cool to watch that battle. A lot of damage there. It's gradually peeling back and probably getting to the point that could cut down that right front tire. So glad to see the checkered flag, I'm sure, for Sally.
Well, great day for the Skip Barber School team, with Eric Powell taking the TC win and TCA going to his stablemate, Carter Fartuck, who right now, right like you said, it's that half point, isn't it? I think, between them.
10-point swing, and he's 9.5 points behind, so unofficially at least it's that time.
Impressive stuff. Oh, and what might have been for Roy Block, who does limp home, 5th overall, 2nd in class. Catania also with an issue on that last lap. Did make it across the line, it appears. Good enough for 6th overall. That could have been anybody's race in TCX over the final 2 laps.
I think if Joe Catania can look at the tape tonight and just tidy up a couple of corners, he gets a little bit wide at the start of the S's and runs that slightly different line through the inner loop, he could be a real factor tomorrow.
Now, Amanda is reporting that at least in the case of Catania, the team does think it's a fuel issue that cost him dearly. Again, it is a team making its debut.
Make more sense if it was one lap further into the race, so that was like they were on that additional lap. We saw the clock so tight with the running there in terms of finishing a lap sooner, but they were a lap and a half shy of getting to the checkered flag.
Well, whatever the case may be, the end result is the same. It is the first win in TCX competition for Steve Strymer, and a big day for Eric Powell, who pads the championship lead over Kevin Boehm. We'll talk more about TC in a moment, but all eyes on the TCX and overall winner, Steve Strymer.
Well, I think in that last lap, there were 3 different leaders in the TCX category, and this guy, Steve Strymer, is the one that took it last, and that was absolute chaos for us there at the end. What was your perspective of everything?
It was unbelievable. I mean, first off, I was I had spun earlier and trying to catch the 3rd place car, and finally did, and then all of a sudden I saw the 2nd place car, and the guy in first, Rude, unfortunately, it looks like he had some contact or something, so we were able to execute.
Congratulations, Steve, on the win.
Thank you. Woo.
Big smile on his face, and I think he summed it up nicely. That was chaos.
It's like, what is going down here?
Well, you never know what you're going to get, especially in TC America, powered by the Skip Barber Racing School. Some fantastic racing up and down this field, and an unpredictable finish. Can't wait to hear from Eric Powell. He had to fight really hard for the win at the end of the weekend at Elkhart Lake. A little less challenging, perhaps, but he had the field controlled from pole today, Amanda.
Well, when you talk about Eric Powell's fight, I remember speaking with you in Road America, and your passion that you exude for this, your willingness and desire to win. How does this win help you in this championship?
This win's amazing. I mean, I'm trying not to think about championship and just go race by race and focus on doing the best I can, and circumstances will dictate the outcome. But it's amazing. I can't say enough about this HPD Civic Type R touring car. Of course, Skip Barber Racing School that makes this all happen. It's absolutely incredible.
Congratulations, Eric.
There's some of that emotion. Sometimes it's a bit reserved from Eric, but look at that. That's what you like to see, and I'll tell you what, he's earned it. Great run today from Eric, and exactly what he needed to pad that championship lead when Kevin Boehm had a pretty good day.
He did. Kevin seemed to have equal pace. It was all about that opening lap, getting the start, getting the jump, earning the pole position, controlling your own destiny, and Eric did it today.
For Kevin Boehm, that is just his first podium since the 2nd race at Circuit of the Americas. Back down to Victory Circle and Amanda.
Oh, and that championship battle in the TCA category just got hotter here in Watkins, Glen, with Carter's win. And Carter, you think of where you are at in this season. We're in the business end of this season, very close to the end. How would you rate where your team is right now?
I mean, I think are at the highest of highs right now, but we are going to keep on going. I mean, we're not stopping right now. Come on now. I mean, I'm so proud of everything that we've been able to do and accomplish this weekend and just the last 2 weeks. You know, we've been working really hard on the setup, and we're getting together. Skip Barber Racing School, Honda Civic SI has been fantastic, and I think the results are showing right now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
2 podiums in the first 6 races for Carter Fartuck. His last 3, all wins.
Yeah, that's big. He's got the momentum right now. He's got the confidence, and he's got the pace in the race car. That's an awesome combination.
Highlights of a wild and wacky first race of the weekend for TC America. That was the TCX start. Jacob Rude from pole, able to pull away for the lead. Eric Powell, the pole sitter in TC, also got a nice jump, and it got a little bit hairy into turn 1 the first time for the TCA field. They fanned out nice and wide, but everyone made it through.
Yeah, Caleb Bacon there from deep in the pack made some big moves on the opening lap. Our championship leader coming in, then contact here, coming into the inner loop between Jeff Ricker.
Tough day for the birthday boy, Austin Smith. He was running 3rd at the time. Something not quite right with that race car and made contact with the tire barrier there in the inner loop. But this was a crucial moment. He had the race in hand, but a puncture for Jacob Rude takes him out of contention. Looked like it might be Roy Block's day until he slowed down on the final lap, and then so did Joe Catania. And that allowed Steve Strymer to sweep by and take the overall lead here on the white flag lap.
Yeah, I think you saw Steve there hit the brakes. He's like, if I missed a full course yellow or something, everyone's slowing down, and I'm not. And just crazy emotion up and down pit lane, both the highs and the lows.
Highs and the lows of racing on display today. Race 2 tomorrow.